Welcome to the Community Difference Wylie, powered by the Difference Media LLC, and hosted by Scott Johnson with FireBoss Realty, and also sponsored by Janice Greenlee with Green Root Capital, and by Andrea Kincanon with the Kincanon Agency. The Community Difference Wylie was created to serve as a platform for local leaders and business professionals to showcase their expertise, values, and commitment to their community. Overall, the podcast aims to create a stronger sense of community in North Texas by highlighting the often overlooked or unnoticed good work being done by local leaders, businesses, and professionals. So sit back and relax as our host, co-host, and their guests share inspirational stories, experiences, thoughts, and insights about being a professional, along with the opportunities for our businesses to serve our communities in very special ways. Because the Community Difference Wylie starts now.
Well, good morning, Wylie. Welcome to the Community Difference Wylie, the podcast where business development meets community involvement with a dash of fun sprinkled in. Today, it's a packed show. I'm your host, Scott Johnson with FireBoss Realty, where life is relationships and everything else is just details. And I'm pumped to be here as we shine a spotlight on the incredible business owners who make Wylie, Saxe, and Murphy a great place to live and work. Whether you're looking for the latest on what's happening in the area or just some inspiration from folks who are getting things done, you're in the right place. Now, normally we've got a full house with multiple guests and co-hosts diving deep into our monthly business topics, but today we're going to switch things up just a little bit. Today I've got the unique pleasure of going one-on-one with the guy who makes it all happen behind the scenes. That's right, we're diving into the mind, methods, and motivations of our producer, the founder and creative force behind the Community Difference itself. So buckle up, because today we have a guest who makes multitasking look like an extreme sport. If there's anyone out there who could teach us how to run a business, coach football, and still have time to mentor and podcast producer, it's Lyndon Wilson. Lyndon's not just an entrepreneur, he's a serial entrepreneur. And I mean that in the best way possible. He's always starting something new to help business owners, both big and small, level up. When he's not coaching local football or schooling people on how to maximize their credit score, he's busy producing not one or two, but an entire series of podcasts called The Community Difference, giving much needed visibility to local leaders and business owners from Plano to Wylie, from Little Elm to Rockwall. And I seriously don't think this guy ever sleeps. So as if that wasn't enough, Lyndon recently founded the Difference Business Alliance. And that's basically a reinvented networking. He's mixed the power of podcasting and live streaming and radio with live and virtual networking. So if you thought regular business meetups were good, imagine putting a microphone, sound, light show, maybe even pyrotechnics sometimes. And the cost of being a part of that networking group is absolutely free. And just when you thought it couldn't possibly do any more, because at this point, I think I'd be curling up and taking a nap, he drops his brand new book, The Entrepreneurial Difference. It's a deep dive into how to build sustainable growth through what he calls an ecosystem-driven business model. Trust me, I got an early copy, and it's not only is it packed with good information, it even has a workbook. So yeah, Lyndon's not just telling you how to build your empire, he's making sure that you take notes and do the homework. So without further ado, let's welcome the man who's changing the game for entrepreneurs, podcasters, and business people everywhere, Lyndon Wilson.
What's up, Scott?
Hey, man. So you're a busy man.
I get bored easily. I have to have something to do. So it's better to try to do something productive than just go out and spend money all the time. I do like playing golf. I do that some. So
where do you get all the energy? Do you live on Red Bull or caffeine, or where do you get the energy to do all the things you do?
Man, that's a good question. And it's funny because I say recently, back in April, got off all caffeine. I had pretty much bodybuilding before in my life, and caffeine and I never really gelled very well. And I got to where I started drinking coffee a little bit, and man, it turned into I don't want to call it an addiction, but it sure was a guilty pleasure. And I found myself in the late afternoon just being really exhausted, and just felt like I needed to get off caffeine again. So I got off that back in April. My energy just comes from the pleasure I get out of seeing people grow and me being able to help them grow. And it's just, I'm always trying to solve a problem. And that's a little bit of it.
Well, I think we're seeing a little bit of the passion that might be behind what you do. And I think we'll go ahead and run to our first break. And then after this break, we'll dive into what inspired you to start the Community Difference.
All right, man, let's do it.
All right. We'll see you after the break.
The Community Difference Wylie is made possible by Scott Johnson with FireBoss Realty, Janice Greenlee with Green Root Capital, and by Andrea Kincanon with the Kincanon Agency. The Community Difference Wylie. Together, we can make the difference. And now, back to the show.
All right, so let's kick things off. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What kind of sparked the idea for the Community Difference? Was there a light bulb moment, or did it brew up like a cup of coffee, or how did you come up with what you've built here?
Well, so I'm originally from Arkansas. I've been in Texas now for 32 years, and I grew up in a real small town. And we had a little one-town country radio station, and it is probably the cheesiest thing that you've ever listened to if you've ever listened to one. And everybody knows everything about everything that's going on, which can be good, which can be bad. But after being in the DFW Metroplex for a while, I started to see that a lot of our communities through media are underserved. And, I'll give you an example. A year or so ago, when the tragedy happened in Allen was all over the national news. It was all over our local news. And the example that I'm giving is when something tragic happens, we're saturated. And sometimes that's the only notoriety a community will get, is a tragedy that happened there. And there's so many good people, so many great events, that I wanted to be able to create something that celebrated that. A lot of times when we look at our national media, it's all negative. And I think a lot of us are getting tired of that. We're getting tired of being told who we shouldn't like and why we shouldn't like them, and why we shouldn't do this and why we shouldn't do that. And it's kind of making us bitter as a country. And then you look around in our communities and where we're closer, where we really know each other and understand each other. And we all want the same thing. We want peace and prosperity. And a lot of us are working towards that goal. But I don't think that we are allowed to see the things that are actually happening. What's happening? What's the good things that are happening in our school? When you look at social media, and I know that in Wylie, it's a challenge, and Rockwall is a challenge. I watch it all the time. You've got these groups where it's almost like a witch hunt. Everybody's got something that they're angry about, and they're going after somebody. And half the time, they don't really understand what's going on in the community on that particular project, just like the road construction in Wylie right now. There's a lot of unhappy people about that because it's inconveniencing them at this moment.
Yeah.
And they're taking it out on sometimes our local leadership, when local leadership doesn't really have anything to do with how that got scheduled, why it got scheduled that way. It's, sometimes it's a state issue. So I just wanted to bring on a program where we all could really understand that we're all good people trying to do good things, and good things are happening all around us. And I wanted to be able to remind people of that. And then the other part of that, Scott, not to get too long-winded on this, is that I wanted to be able to involve our local business leaders so that people would understand their passion for serving the community, so that we would understand why, when you hear that term, shop local, hire local, buy local, that we would understand why that's so important.
And there's a lot of local business leaders that once you get to know them, they're in the business to make a profit, but they turn an awful lot of that profit right back into the community, into the nonprofits in the community, doing good for people. And that's one of the things where when you shop local, it helps out way more than just that local business.
It really does. And, you know, when you look, and I'm not going to bash large corporations, national corporations, but if they're not making money in a community, they will pack up and leave. They're gone.
Yeah.
And a lot of our local business owners are in that community because they love the community. They want to be a part of that community. And, you know, if you've ever been a business owner, it doesn't mean you're necessarily part of that big 1% that everybody demonizes. Sometimes there's some struggles. It's hard to run a business, but yet you continue to serve your community because that's what you want to do. You continue to buy those little ads for your local little league team, or put the sign on the field because you love the community. It's not always about the profit.
Well, then let me go ahead and go to my next question for you. The community difference isn't just a catchy name for you. So what does it mean to you personally, and how did you land on it? Was this like a big brainstorming session to try and figure out what to call this, or did it just roll off your tongue one day, or how did that come about?
I think that it came about. I mean, it came about over several years, and just my, I guess, frustration with how our culture has become so divided. And I believe that when you see the people and you interact with the people in our community, there's got to be a way to unify us better, right? We've got to stop listening to the propaganda that we hear on a lot of the major mainstream media, and realize that we're all alike, regardless of our color, regardless of our preferences, regardless of a lot of things. We're really more alike than we're different. And so that's where it came with community difference. The difference is how we unite around each other, and that we start first with our local communities and trying to build the best community that we can. I don't believe that we're ever, and I don't want to get on a political rant, but I don't believe we're ever going to have an influence and impact on what goes on in Washington and with mainstream media until we can unify ourselves in our own small communities.
Yeah, that's one of the comments that Nathan Smith made on the show just a little bit ago. Small town America is what makes America great for all people, and I just agree with that. I think that's kind of what you were hitting at.
It is. It's the backbone. It's the backbone of our country, but it's being demonized, and the people that live inside of those communities are being fed such negativity that sometimes we just want to get home, lock ourselves in our house, and not even interact with our neighbors anymore.
Yeah. So it's called community difference. And so for anyone who hasn't tuned in yet, and seriously, I don't know what they're waiting for, can you give us the elevator pitch on what the Community Difference podcast is all about?
So it's being able to show the similarities that we all have: the small business owner, local leadership, the residents in our community, our schools, the students in our schools, the whole fabric of the community. And Scott, I know you're going to talk about this later. I know you read that in the book, but it is about making sure that this community works as an ecosystem, right? Yeah. That it becomes self-sustaining, self-promotional, and nurtures itself. So that's really what it's all about. What if we can bring on our local leadership that's being beaten down sometimes by uninformed people, and give them a platform to talk positively about what's going on. We never want this, and it will never be a political show where someone comes on and campaigns and talks negatively about maybe their opponent. Mm-hmm. We want people to come on and talk about the good things that is happening, and maybe the impact that they're trying to have on those good things. again, talking about our schools, I don't think our schools get enough credit for all the positive things. You and I were having a discussion before about the 544 Cafe. I'd be curious to know how many people in Wylie know the 544 Cafe exists and even what it is. It's right inside Wylie High School.
Yep.
It's right. Impressive.
It's right there on Woodbridge Parkway, right off the main entrance. They've got their own parking lot. I was in there yesterday eating lunch, and the place was full, and it was delicious. I had the Philly cheesesteak with sauteed mushrooms and onions, and it was great. The guy I was eating lunch with had a French dip, and he said it was awesome also. But those kids go in there, they run a business while they're in school. It's just amazing what they're doing over there.
Yeah, they're actually taught how to create a business plan for developing a food product or a restaurant or anything like that. So it is really a skill that they allow the students to learn and then exercise that skill themselves. And like you said, it's pretty cool. Cool concept, and then they deliver a good product too.
So making a local impact for business and community leaders. Got any recent success stories that'll make us go, hey, wow?
Yeah, I'll tell you one. There's a couple, but the one that I think sticks out most is when we really first started this. I had one of our hosts come to me and he was like, hey, I just realized what this thing was created to do. He said, I started getting a lot of it was in the real estate industry, started getting a lot of calls from people on the West Coast moving to the DFW area. And it really didn't hit me that I'm getting more calls from the West Coast than I am locally because I'm not marketing on the West Coast. So I finally started asking, how did you hear about me? Well, they had done a Google search, obviously trying to find real estate agents within the area. And he popped up. As they're vetting out those different agents, they shared pretty much the same story. Everybody's got a great website. Everybody's got a social media presence. Everybody got pretty much all the same things. But what we were impressed by was the fact that you're on a podcast and you were on multiple podcasts. And we see you talking to the mayor. We see you talking to city council members. We see you talking to people that are admins in the school district. And we felt like that as a real estate agent, you were the most well-connected in that community. Therefore, you were going to be able to give us better insights about that community.
Yep.
And so that's really the impact that it has when we get involved in a community like that. And here's the thing, Scott, a lot of us business owners are involved in the community. It's just that the community doesn't know about it. And that's why I wanted to create the community difference. Not so we can go brag about what we're doing. We're not doing that. This is not a bragging show. This is not about putting a spotlight and go look at me and look at all the great things I'm doing. Because what it is we're putting the spotlight on everybody else and showing the community what everybody else is doing so that we all get an understanding of just how committed and we are to serving that community and trying to do good things.
Yeah, and that's in the real estate world. We talk to people, new agents especially, and one of the phrases we use is "Don't go be a secret agent." People have to know you, they have to like you, they have to trust you because you're going to be dealing with their, the largest individual purchase most anybody ever makes. And 100%. So if you're a secret agent, then they're not going to know who you are to even know to call you.
No, you're not. And our tagline is be seen, be heard, and be remembered. And I want to touch on that real quick. I don't want to derail your questions, but there's purpose behind that tagline. So you just mentioned the know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
Be seen is how we get to know people. Be heard is how we become familiar with them, right?
Yep.
But be remembered is where we get that trust, right? Once we establish that trust, we will always be remembered. And so how do we accomplish those three things? Back in the old days, it was having lunches and coffees and meeting. And I still believe in all of that. I think that's something I hope never goes away.
Yep.
but I also think that we can use today's technology in the digital media world to facilitate that and accelerate that a little bit better, so that people can know who we are, get to see who we are associated with, and then they're going to feel a lot better about wanting to meet us, wanting to hire us, wanting to associate with us.
Yep, I think that's good. I think that's right. Tell you what, why don't we head off into our first break? And then when we come back, we'll dig a little deeper into the origin and purpose of the community difference.
All right, here we go.
All right.
And now a word from a few of our amazing sponsors that make the Difference Radio, live stream, and podcast network possible.
Total Care Emergency Room now has 9 locations in the DFW Metroplex. With no appointment needed, our incredible staff will get you checked in with no wait times. Our 5-star facility is open and fully staffed 24/7. We offer extensive treatment options for patients of all ages, providing on-site labs and imaging equipment, including CT, X-ray, and ultrasound, allowing us to provide fast, convenient care for our community. Total Care ER is your neighborhood emergency room. TotalCare.us.
Unwanted pests in your home can be stressful. From creepy crawlies to critters under the floorboards, they disrupt your peace of mind. But don't worry. All Pest Solutions is here to help. We offer a comprehensive range of safe and effective pest control solutions. We target all types of pests, big or small, including insects, rodents, and wildlife. All Pest Solutions, your local experts for a pest-free home. Breathe easy and enjoy your life again. Call today for a free quote. 972-442-1169 or email us at customerservice@allpestsolutions.com.
To belong is one of our most basic human needs. Best Buddies International is the world's largest organization dedicated to ending the social isolation of 200 million individuals who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. We focus on meaningful one-to-one friendships, integrated employment, leadership development, and inclusive living. You have the power to make an impact, create change, and champion our mission of inclusion today.
And now, back to the show.
So welcome back to the show. Today we're doing a one-on-one with Lyndon Wilson, who's the creative mind behind the Community Difference. So take us back to the beginning. How did the Community Difference project and initiative get started? What gap in the community made you say, yeah, we need to do this?
Well, again, it comes down to a lot of people doing a lot of great things that aren't really synergistic, and trying to figure out how to put all that together. Again, that term that I use a lot is ecosystem. Because an ecosystem is like a set of gears. They're all working together. You've got the sprocket and you've got the teeth on that sprocket, and they all flow very easily together. And when you have that, you can accomplish so much more because you're multiplying your efforts, right? Yeah. But when you have a group that's doing something great over here, and a group that's doing something great over here, and a group that's doing something great over here, a lot of times it's kind of fragmented. And when you do those type of things, you're putting out a lot more effort than you're getting in results. So the project and initiative came from the podcast. As we started this podcast, we had a lot of people that wanted to be a part of it, and because they, podcasts are trendy, and it's really cool to be on a podcast, and it's cool to tell your circle that hey dude, I'm on this really cool podcast. The problem is we weren't using the podcast the way it was intended to be used. We were using it more to be self-serving. And I want everybody to benefit from this, but it's also to serve our community. And so we wanted to create the project and initiative so that people knew the purpose of the podcast, that we're serving the community first. And over time, we hope to build an affinity with that community for ourselves, so that we are someone that they want to do business with. And we also wanted to be able to let people know that you don't just have to be on the podcast to be involved in the project and initiative to do great things for the community, right? Right. There's a lot of different ways that serve. So we're trying to build a network of people that want to be involved with promoting their community. a lot of times, Scott, and this is what's been really cool that was kind of unexpected. A lot of times when we're working on projects inside Wylie, inside Rockwall, inside Plano and Frisco and Little Elm and other communities that we know of, no one outside of our community knows what's going on.
Right.
Well, I love the unity of the community, but I want people from Rockwall to see the brilliance of Wylie. I want people from Wylie to see the outstanding people, places, and events that are happening in Rockwall.
Yep.
And so by doing that on a public forum, we've been able to expose the great contributions that are going on in these communities to our sister and neighbor communities. And that in itself drives more business. It drives more attention. It drives more participation into our communities, making us a lot stronger economically.
Yep. And that's what drives the businesses. So since we're talking about the businesses, you also created the Business Development Alliance. So what's that all about, and how does it fit into the bigger vision for the community difference?
Well, probably I put the cart before the horse. I probably should have started with the Alliance before I started with the podcast. And I'll explain why. For 30 plus years, I've been basically a business development strategist. That's really where that's my lane. That's my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I know the challenges and I know the struggles that the small business owner faces every day. And I'll share an example as quickly as I can. I could be the best window washer in the world. I could clean windows like no one else. And if I'm not being appreciated by my boss and I'm building good relationships with my clients, I might feel underappreciated and feel like, then, you know what, if I go out and do this on my own, number one, I'm going to be appreciated. Number two, probably going to make more money.
Yeah.
Have the independence. What I don't realize before I take that step is that the minute that I decide to do that, I'm not just the window washer anymore. I am the CEO. I am the tax person. I am the marketing, the branding. You're taking on about 15 different responsibilities, a lot of which you don't get paid for in the beginning. Right?
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends that are doctors and dentists and things like that. And talking to them after they got out of medical school, they went to medical school to treat patients. And they didn't really even think about the business aspect of being a doctor, because you're not just treating patients. There is a whole business side to your practice that they may not even be any good at. They may be the best doctor on the planet, but if you can't run your business, then, and a lot of them end up hiring business people and they use leverage, but they do have to figure out pretty quickly that it is a business and you have to run it like a business, or you won't be doing it for long.
100%. And that's where we end up struggling. And that's where we end up working in our business more than working on the business. And so the Business Development Alliance was to bring people together to help them understand how to be better at the things they don't really understand, right? We can be experts. We can be elite at a skill, but it doesn't mean we're an elite professional.
Right.
And so we want to work on the things that help us become better. And we want to, iron sharpens iron, right? So we want to be around the type of people that we can be mentored by, and then we can also give back by mentoring as well. And that's really what the Business Alliance is all about, is forming a network. The other thing I will give an example is I've been a part of a lot of networking groups, and they've done a lot of great things for me and my business as well. But I think that they are missing out on a lot of the opportunities to help the members of those networking groups, and being able to use digital technology. And when you go to a networking group and there's 10, 15, 50 to 100 people,
yeah,
that can be powerful when you first start. But after a while, you've run through the circle. It's like going, selling something to your friends and family. Once you've done that, where do you go next?
Right.
And so I wanted to be able to create the Business Development Alliance, which also is a part of the podcast, so that as we're talking and we're working and developing relationships and business together, we're allowing the community to get to know us. Again, it's
Right.
all part of that ecosystem and strategy of having more visibility and letting people know the human side of us, not just the commercial side.
Right. And the podcast has kind of become a go-to for shining a light on local leaders. So where do you see the podcast heading in the next few years? Are we shooting for world domination, or what are we looking for?
Man, I don't know. I'm too much of an old country boy to care about world domination. I have a passion, and I have a soft spot for small business owners that have put everything they've got into their business, and all they want to do is be able to provide for their family, serve their communities. But the struggles that they face, sometimes their budget doesn't allow for the expensive training and mentoring and things like that. So I want to create a place that we can go to find the resources that we all need to become better in the areas that we need to become better at. And while doing that, be able to brand and market ourselves and make the type of connections that's going to allow us to grow and allow us to give our communities those skills that we're so good at.
And when you talk about marketing, I've heard you use the phrase all the time about cause-based marketing as part of the strategy. So can you tie that into everything that you do for the business and the community engagement?
Sure. So basically, the community difference is cause-based marketing all wrapped into one, right? So
Yep.
while I'm serving myself, I can also be helping and serving others. And so when you put together a coalition of small business owners that are working for a cause to help that community, we're becoming seen, heard, and remembered in a more positive light, right? So it's not always about self-promotion. It's not always about what we're doing. How can I use my resources and my strengths in partnership with Scott Johnson, in partnership with Harvey Lozier, who just commented, in partnership with Nathan Smith?
Harvey.
How can I use my resources in partnership with them to do something spectacular for our community that may or may not have any impact and reward back on my business?
Right.
So that's what cause marketing is. A lot of times, most people think that cause marketing starts with nonprofits, and it really did. But people started to realize that how I can partner with a nonprofit, I can also partner with my associate that may not even be in the same business realm as I am, and we can do some amazing things for the people that we want to serve in the community.
Right. And I think that goes back to what you were talking about before about the gears. There's different size gears, and they all mesh together to make an end result. Some of the gears are big, some are small, but you got to have all of them working together in order to make the thing work well. And I that's what the cause-based marketing is to me. Is it's just everybody helping everybody else, and then in the end, we all do better in the long run.
Zig Ziglar said, "If you give enough people what they want, you'll get what you want." And
yep, I love those Zig.
And every time that I have ever struggled and found myself challenged in my businesses over the years, I learned to start reminding myself of that quote, because it will then make me have to be self-aware, and I determine, am I serving myself and my own needs, or am I trying to serve my clients and their needs? And most of the time, Scott, probably 99% of the time, it was me. It was me thinking of me first and not my client. Yeah. And I think that when we all come together and we serve the community, good things are going to happen for us all.
Yep, and I think that's where the value is, and in the community difference and the business development alliance is the synergy that you get by being a part of it. So I'm going to toss us to the next break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask you some questions that help maybe potential partners or viewers understand the value that these things operate. So we'll see you after the break.
Everyone deserves access to affordable health insurance, but with traditional insurance, costs can be high and getting coverage can be complicated. JP Direct Health is a simpler, more affordable way to get the health coverage you need. With plans for individuals, families, and small businesses, you can save money on monthly premiums. without the need for physicals. At jpdirecthealth.com, we specialize in customizing coverage to fit almost every budget with affordable PPO plans and many other benefits. With over 100 5-star Google reviews, JP Direct Health is a trusted resource making health insurance affordable and accessible for everyone year-round. Affordable health insurance solutions are a proactive protection, not a reactive solution. Visit jpdirecthealth.com today and see how much you can save.
I'm always here to help. Thank you.
Enjoy DFW's most fun, affordable night out and catch the Rough Riders, the AA affiliate of the Rangers, at beautiful Riders Field in Frisco. Get your tickets at ridersbaseball.com. The Frisco Rough Riders, the future stars of your Texas Rangers.
Are you or someone you know pregnant or planning to conceive? Caitlin Smith is both a certified childbirth doula and instructor offering childbirth classes to couples wanting an unmedicated, physiological birth outside of the hospital setting. Caitlin has served the local community since 2021 and specializes in working closely with midwives, all while best supporting a mother's physical body, her partner, and the birth environment. You can contact Caitlin through Instagram at thismamadoula or email her at caitlinsmithdoula@gmail.com to learn more about childbirth classes or her doula services.
Are you looking to buy a home? The process can be daunting, but it doesn't have to be. With the help of a qualified loan officer like Paul Fisher, you can get the financing you need and get into your dream home. Paul Fisher, a direct local lender with Certainty Home Lending, has many years of experience helping people buy homes. He's knowledgeable, experienced, and he'll work with you to find the best loan for your needs. Contact Paul Fisher today to get started on your home buying journey. He'll help you every step of the way, so you can relax and focus on finding your dream home. Visit www.loansbyfisher.com or call 817-308-7361 to schedule a consultation with Paul. MLS number 2018111.
Now back to the show.
Well, welcome back, Wylie. We're in the middle of, Tracy Duff left a comment, said the man, the myth, the legend, Lyndon Wilson. We're in the middle of talking to Lyndon Wilson about the community difference, and there it is. And then
thank you, Tracy.
How he got started and where this all came from. So for those listening right now, whether they're business leaders or they're community members, how can they jump into the community difference family? Should they go buy a microphone and some headphones, or just show up with some good vibes, or what do you think their next step ought to be?
Well, first of all, do you love your community? Are you looking for a way to serve the community and bring unity to that community? And if that is something that you are passionate about and want to be involved in, we're pretty easy to find. We're on Wylie, Rockwall, Plano. Plano is Wednesdays at 11:30. Rockwall is Wednesdays at 2:30. Wylie, we're on at 11:30, and Frisco is 2:30 on Thursdays. Got a show coming up with them later on today. So just reach out to our co-host, our host, anybody associated with us if you're interested in getting involved. Like I said, there's a lot of ways besides the podcast that you can become a part of what we're trying to do in this movement and mission. Some of them require, financial support. Some of them don't. So it just depends on what your interests are and how you think not only can you serve the community, but what's going to help and impact your business the most.
Oh, cool. And partnership seems to play a big role in your success. So how do those alliances help everyone grow together? Is it like a big Avengers assemble where everybody comes together, or only just for business? What does that look like?
No, it's not just for businesses. The more relationships that we can form and the deeper that we can form them, the better all of us are going to be, right? There's benefits there for all of us. Part of this, Scott, you mentioned earlier about football coach. I was a football coach for 14 years, and I built a lot of what we're doing around a team aspect because teams accomplish more. I've got a quote right here from Phil Jackson, NBA coach. The strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team. And what I look at is the more we bring on in collaboration, the stronger we get. And the louder our voices get, and the more impact we have. And I'll go back a little bit to, again, trying not to get on my political soapbox, but I do believe that a lot of this mainstream media and our political system is thrives on division.
Yep.
Right.
I agree.
If we are divided, we are less powerful. And a lot of this, and it just made me think about this, part of what really triggered me to have a deeper passion for this was what happened to small business owners during COVID.
Yeah, that was bad.
How people were selectively chosen to be non-essential.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't care who thinks my business is not essential. It's essential to me and my family. Right. And to be told I can't do it in a country that's supposed to be the most free country in the world, there's something wrong there. And I do believe that there is a fear in Washington and with our mainstream media about good folks coming together and uniting.
Yep, I agree.
And that's where I want this to begin. I want us to realize that in order to sustain and maintain the type of living standards and culture that we all want to have, and I know we're a melting pot, different people see that from a different angle. I still think that we can get along. If you disagree with me, it's not my place to try to destroy what you want. So it doesn't impact me, and it's not your place to try to destroy the way I want to live so that it doesn't impact you. We can get along, and we can still be unified and try, because again, what is the main thing that each and every one of us want? Peace and prosperity.
Yep. Yeah, and the getting along, I think that goes into, and I'm just going to go where there's a phrase that you use regularly that a lot of people go, what are you talking about? Because you talk about building an ecosystem of opportunity, and that sounds cool, but a lot of people don't even know what that means. So what does that ecosystem look like, and how can people get plugged into it and benefit from it?
Well, the ecosystem, when you look at our network of businesses, our community leaders, influencers, everyone that makes up the fabric of the community, if you are united, working in unison, you have an ecosystem. You can all be working with a positive vision and still pulling against each other.
Yep. So
how do you create, like you talked about the gears, right? The gears are kind of like the ecosystem.
Right.
And you've got larger ones, you've got smaller ones, but they all are working and doing their job to make this thing work more effectively and efficiently. And when we understand that comes back to the communication. You know, part of our core value is centered around what we call the CARE value. And that's an acronym for be communicative, be attentive, be responsive, and be engaged. And I think that if anybody watching today would think about that in depth, that philosophy in itself could solve probably 99% of all of our problems. And I'm not talking about our social problems. I'm talking about our individual problems, how we are in our relationships, whether it's marriage, business, or whatever. When you learn to communicate better, when you become more committed to better communication, when you become more attentive, when you become better at being responsive, and when you become more engaged, that is how you show somebody you care. And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so the ecosystem of opportunity is about that. It's about uniting the people that share a vision and a mission that's greater than themselves to accomplish a goal that's going to benefit everybody.
Yeah, and that's in our business. We use life as relationships, and everything else is just details. And those relationships are the ecosystem. Yeah, that's where things are done. That's where we can help others. That's where others help us. I mean, our business doesn't grow on its own. Our business, it relies on our clients. It relies on our vendors. We've got mortgage companies and title people and inspectors, and there is a whole group of people that we work with and that we trust and that we rely on. And without them, we wouldn't be very good at what we do. But we have to rely on everybody to to make that happen.
Yep, I agree.
So you mentioned earlier that this platform helps businesses fight obscurity. So how exactly does the Community Difference podcast help them stand out in today's jam-packed digital world? Because there's everybody out there got a TikTok or an Instagram.
True. So I've said for years that most businesses don't struggle or fail because of a bad product or service. They struggle or fail because not enough people knew who they were, what they were doing, and their passion for doing it. And in a lot of cases, they didn't know how to even get in touch with them if they wanted to do business with them. There has never been a greater time to market and brand your business than since the development of social media. Now, there's good, as with anything, there's positives and negatives. I in some ways despise social media. That's why in one of our BDA classes, we taught how to turn social media into service media.
Yeah.
Right. How can you use it in a productive manner that benefits you, your clients, and your community? Scott, you just had a post the other day that in 24 hours had 3,800 views.
Yeah.
So I would ask any small business owner out there, is what you're doing right now affordably allowing you to be seen, be heard, be remembered by 3,800 people? Right.
Yeah.
Our Frisco show about 3 weeks ago in 7 days had 105,000 viewers. And I'm bragging about that one because we've never come close to that. We've had 50,000, we've had 60,000. One of the great things about our podcast is they are infinite, right? They go into a library in YouTube and they're there forever. Yep. Our very first show that we did 5 years ago, in a week's time, we had 1,500 viewers. It is now over 45,000 viewers, and that thing's 5 years old. It keeps getting views. So we have a tool called digital social media. And if we understand how to use it and not become annoying with it, use it as a service rather than a promotion for ourselves, we're able to tap into a market and develop that know, like, and trust factor.
Yeah, that's one of the amazing things that I learned when I first started studying social media. It was one of the classes I took in college, but I learned the term long tail queue. And what that is in the digital world, you don't have to have inventory storage space. Your storage space is basically on a server in some black box server building somewhere. And that's why on Amazon, when they say, hey, people that bought this liked this, there could be some random, one-off, very few people have ever seen it thing that now you've got access to that thing also. And that's what the long tail queue is. You've got this thing, but if you like that, there's this other thing or this other thing or this other thing. And that's basically what Amazon was built on. And I mean, they're massive.
100%. I'll give you an example of that from my own personal experience. And you talked about the book that I wrote, and not bragging. I'm just going to use this as an example, but we cracked the top 100. We were at number 65. And what I noticed, because I started doing a little searching myself, but because we got into the top 100, you looked up another book that was in the same category, and you could see, if you buy this book, you might also like this book, which was mine. And I'm not paying for that advertising. I'm not paying for that promotion.
Right.
So it kind of, that again, that is an ecosystem, right?
It is.
It's something that feeds itself.
It's an ecosystem where you don't even know the other players.
100%. 100%. But it keeps growing because of its own efforts.
Right. And that's what I think the Community Difference does. So for any business or community leader wanting to grow their presence like you've done with the Community Difference, what's your best piece of advice, I guess, besides starting a podcast?
Number one, create a strategy. Okay. Don't just do it when the mood hits you. Have a strategy, be consistent with that strategy. The strategy needs to include authenticity. Okay. Be your authentic self. Understand how Chick-fil-A became as powerful as Chick-fil-A became, because they're authentic. They are who they are, and they don't apologize for it.
Yep.
They don't try to run it down anybody else's throat. They just are who they are, and they're playing in their own lane. So be authentic. Remember to humanize your brand, not just commercialize it. Because the one thing that'll never be replicated, duplicated, or imitated is you. You are the power of your brand. And so if you're trying to imitate Walmart or Home Depot or some of these large big box corporate stores, their branding is not personalized, right? It's
right.
A lot of Walmart is based on cost efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Saving you money. That's
Low
how
price.
they draw people. Right. It's pricing. So you want people to know that you are the face behind the brand, and it's a relationship developed brand. So build those relationships. Show people who you are as a person. Don't be afraid to do that. And be able to live where your audience is. Okay, if they're on Facebook, that's where you want to be. You know, don't be trying to market on LinkedIn if your target market is primarily on social media. If your target market primarily does shorts and reels, if that's what attracts them, that's where you want to do most of your contact and branding and marketing.
Right.
Instagram is different. Instagram has a different target market. So you need to understand those things. And if you don't understand those things, places like the Business Development Alliance is a great place to go and learn what you don't know so that you can be better at those things.
And that's one of the things that I love about the Alliance is, I mean, I'm maybe one of the older people there, but there are guys like Ethan that, man, that guy, he is tech savvy. He was born and raised with technology in his hands, and he just has a different understanding than I do. I think I'm pretty tech savvy for being an old guy, but sometimes I see these folks that are, you know, they were born with it, and they don't even understand life without a smartphone.
No.
And most of us don't remember what life without a smartphone was like.
I do. It wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad.
You know, one of the things that I think about, Scott, and what you're saying is you'll see a room full of us and in any networking where everybody's got a certain level of skill in something, but what you can learn from that other person is sometimes more efficient ways to do what you're already doing. Okay. Yeah. It doesn't mean you don't know how to do it. It just means that now I can save a lot of time because somebody showed me a way to do it more efficiently.
Right. I think I'm going to head us to a break. And then when we get back, I've got some questions about what your vision is for the community difference, and we'll dive into those.
All right.
All right. See you.
At the Community Difference Business Development Alliance, powered by the Difference Media, LLC, our mission is to empower small business owners by transcending acceptable behaviors and outcomes into exceptional realms. We foster a culture of self-awareness, accountability, and proactive engagement, guiding individuals to recognize and overcome indifference towards transformative actions, habits, behaviors, and processes driving meaningful change. Through strategic networking, impactful content creation, and innovative top-of-mind strategies, we cultivate brand relevance and differentiation, enabling our partners and the Difference community to stand out in crowded markets. With a focus on building authentic connections, amplifying brand presence, and driving sustainable growth, we equip entrepreneurs with the tools and mindset to navigate the complexities of entrepreneurship with confidence, innovation, and resilience. Together, we aim to be the catalyst for difference makers, propelling them towards their highest potential and leaving a lasting impact on their businesses and communities. That's where our community podcasts come in. These podcasts lie directly at the intersection of innovative business development and community involvement, helping to bridge the gap between small business obscurity often seen in our communities. The community-based podcasts called the Community Difference Series are an integral part of integrating all facets of modern business development into a package of great content, positive impact branding, and top-of-mind presence, thus fulfilling the greater mission we set forth. When we set out to be difference makers, we can learn to make a difference and find the success and impact innately desired by all business owners and entrepreneurs. We are difference makers.
And now, back to the show.
And we are difference makers. I like that piece went just before the questions that I'm about to ask, because looking ahead, what's the big picture? What's your big vision for the Community Difference Project and Initiative? And we call it the BDA, just to be short, but that's Business Development Alliance. So how do you see it leveling up and making it an even bigger splash?
Well, we had a meeting this morning about starting a new show in Little Elm. We've got a couple people talking to us about South Lake and some other communities around. I just, making the connection, Scott, with the people that want to grow their business, that want to serve their community in ways that go beyond just, the product or service that they have, and that want to build these alliances that allow us all to do more. And achieve more. So looking at how we want to grow, I mean, we're looking for different communities that feel like they're underserved as far as media, whether it's a small business owner, whether it's a local leadership, whoever it is that feels like that this could be an asset to their community. We'd love to talk to them and tell them how to use this tool to accomplish the things that they're wanting to accomplish inside, unity and support of their community.
Cool. So what keeps you pushing the boundaries and engaging with the community and helping local businesses thrive? So I guess what's the fire in your belly? What's the thing that keeps you driving forward when it's hard or when things aren't working the way you think they should?
Man, that's $1 million question right there. I think a lot of it comes from my background as an athlete, as a coach, and realizing that we are never as good as we can be. There's always something more we can do if we're willing to do it. The fact that through my years of growth and development as a high school student, as a college athlete, there were people that believed in me and my abilities that I didn't believe in myself. And they invested in me, and they allowed me to become more than I ever thought I could become. And it's those people that I remember every day, and I want to be that for other people. I don't care about how much they appreciate me for being that person, but I look around and I see the potential. Being a coach for so many years, you get to see these athletes that have so much more than they believe they have.
Yeah.
And to watch them accomplish it, and what they're feeling inside when they do. Right. When they do something they never believed they can do, that personal best at something, and knowing that because of what just happened for them and to them, they've just elevated themselves, and it's going to change their whole human condition. Right. And I think that if we all could see that we have that capacity in ourselves to inspire others. I mean, how great would life be if our biggest focus was what am I going to do today to inspire others to be greater?
Right. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is, even Olympic athletes winning gold medals, they have a coach.
Yeah.
They all have a coach. They all have somebody that's saying, hey, how about try this? How about do that? And they could easily look back at the coach and go, why don't you get out here and do it? And that's not the role of the coach.
Well, I will tell you this. When I coached at Dallas Christian, that was back in my younger days, and I was still in good shape. I had always told myself, Scott, that if I ever became a coach, I was never going to ask a kid to do something that I couldn't show them how to do. And I did it. I practiced with them every day. I broke my arm in practice one day. We got out there and we battled, and it made it fun because there was, everybody wanted to humble me, I guess, and not that I was being cocky or arrogant, but we were being competitive.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I loved about coaching is not only just coaching the kids and watching them grow, but be able to actually engage with them in that way. And, I think that being able to demonstrate what you're asking someone to do, and I try to do that within the BDA, and I try to do it within the podcast.
Yep.
I want to be able to show people that it's not impossible. And I'll tell you why I say that. People look at me crazy. I am the guy that in college dropped speech class 3 times because I absolutely could not stand in front of a crowd of people and even say my name.
Yep.
I couldn't do it. You put me around 3 or 4 people that I know well, I'll talk your ear off. But I couldn't talk to people I didn't know. And then God has a way of putting you where he thinks you're supposed to be or where he knows you're supposed to be. And all of a sudden, 40 years later, I'm doing podcasts.
Yeah. And I think that whole coaching and mentoring thing, that's one of those things that just kind of brings joy, I think, to everybody. I mean, I look at some of the guys that are in the fire service now because they called and they said, hey, I think that looks like kind of a cool thing. And, you watch them. I had a guy, he was a pro football player, and his contract wasn't being renewed. He came over here, brought his little wife and his baby, sat on the back porch and said, man, I want to do something to help people, but I'm not done playing ball yet. And he picked up another contract. He played another year.
I know who you're talking about, I bet.
And then he called the other day and he said, hey man, I just wanted to let you know that I took this fire department thing, and I'm going to be on the fire department, and I don't think the physical agility test is going to be a hard thing for me, and it's not because he was a pro ball player. But he said, tell me what I need to know about this interview and the psychological exam, stuff like that. And it's just fun watching those guys, step out. And even as a pro ball player, he wanted to go do something that was going to serve people, and he wasn't going to make the contract that he made when he was in his younger years. But it's fun to sit down with that guy, and he has done well with his money. He owns a couple apartment complexes and stuff, so he's doing the multi streams of revenue thing, and he's doing well. But that's one of the fun things for me, is to look back at even the officers on the fire department that have come up through my fire station, been my drivers, and now I watch them. And one of them was doing some training one day, and I was just sort of standing back watching him train his guys, and I'm like, oh, that's fun. It's kind of a proud dad moment for you.
Yeah.
So that's,
well, I really believe that we were created as humans to work to improve the human condition, whether that's with one individual or whether it's with a group. And I think that that's where we get fulfillment and joy out of life, is when we know we're making the difference. And I'm not saying that in a cheesy tagline. That's where all this came from. It's what we're doing, making not a difference, but the difference.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can control. We had that conversation at our last BDA. Can you control how much income you make every year? And the consensus was that we can't. There's too many variables that we cannot. If we could control how much income we make, all of us would be billionaires.
Yep.
But the one thing you can control is how your actions impact others.
Yep.
And so if you're doing that on a daily basis, regardless of how challenging your business is, you can lay down at night and feel like you accomplished something.
Yep. So if you had to sum up what the community difference is all about in one power-packed sentence, what would that be? I know that's a hard one.
meaningful connections that empower our leaders and our communities to thrive together. That's how I would say it.
Okay, cool. So before we wrap up, because I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up here in a little bit, how can our listeners stay connected with you and keep up with exciting projects coming from the Community Difference? Is that Twitter? Is that Instagram, LinkedIn, Carrier Pigeon? What do we do?
We're on Instagram. Our biggest platforms are Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and then listening to that's how you can connect with us. I mean, we've got probably 6 or 7 different groups and channels on Facebook. We've got one channel on YouTube. That's our big one. LinkedIn, you look up the difference, the Community Difference, you're going to find us there. If you use the hashtags, you'll find us a lot easier. We've got a Facebook group in Rockwall, Wylie, Plano, and Frisco. So we're not hard to find. If you look for us, you're going to find us. Listening to our shows, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, all the major podcast platforms, and about 35 different ones that you probably never heard of because they kind of go syndicated.
Okay.
So, we're just hashtag us. If you go in and hashtag us a lot of times on Google, if you look up the Community Difference on Google, if you look up the Difference Radio live stream and podcast on Google, you're going to find us.
Okay. The Business Development Alliance, I know that we've been doing them live at various locations, but that's going to be available in a virtual format now for 3 of the 4 weeks, correct?
Correct. And here's a flyer that I'll pop up on that. So that's going to be on a Zoom call. And again, there's no cost to this. And tonight we're going to be going over one of the chapters. You talked about the workbook that's in the book. There is a workbook in the book, but we're actually going to have some worksheets. One of the things when I decided to create not only the book but just the Business Development Alliance, great friend of mine, I'd met her for the first time at a seminar I was teaching, and she goes, "I have done so much training, so much education." She goes, "My problem is when I get home, I don't apply any of the knowledge that I've taken in." Right. So when I wrote the book, the Business Development Alliance is not just about us sitting down and giving a 30-second elevator speech and going and having coffee and trying to figure out a way we can share referrals. This is business development, and we form our alliances there. And so there is a process that we go through to make sure that you are able to apply what we're learning so that you actually get results out of it.
Yeah, I've been to, I think, all of the Business Development Alliance meetings so far, and they're very good. So if you're interested, if you're a business owner, if you're looking to develop your business, if you're just interested in business in general and want to learn how to maybe up your game or, take it to the next level, I didn't even know you had the little pop-up. If you can pop that up again. That way, here's when we're meeting. It's the Virtual Business Development Alliance on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Thursday of each month. We're doing them from 7 to 8. We got some feedback from some moms, actually, who said that the 4 o'clock time when we meet live, it wasn't going to work for them. That's school pickup time. So we're trying to work with everybody on their timelines. And I think it's a really great tool to help you understand your business and then bring it to the next level. So
I agree. So far, we've had really good feedback on what we've done, and we did want to kind of accelerate the learning process because I'm a stickler for urgency. If tomorrow and next week is good, what's wrong with today? Yep. So we wanted to be able to go through this so that we can see people start to grow sooner.
All right. Well, I'm going to shut us down, but I am going to give you an opportunity for any last insights or comments or reflections or anything that you want to make to help people understand or to motivate them to take the next step.
Well, first of all, Scott, thanks for allowing me this time to share my passion and my vision and how I feel like that everybody can benefit from this, and we can serve so many others in doing so, and we can build those alliances that are going to serve us in so many different ways. This is a passion of mine. I've been an entrepreneur, as Scott said, serial entrepreneur for 30 plus years. I've learned so much. I've had some great mentors that have served me well, and I want to be able to give back. And I want to create an atmosphere and a community that builds leaders. I think that we don't have enough leaders in our community. And we've got some good ones, but I don't think we have enough. And I want to be able to find a place to be a resource for leadership development, whether it's coming from me or whether it's coming from you, Scott. We've got a lot of other great people that are involved in the community difference. We've got new people coming on. I just posted before, Harvey Lozier is now our newest Wylie co-host.
Yep.
We're super excited to have him join us. I know he's going to have a lot of great insights to share. And so if you're looking to grow your business, if you realize that there are some aspects that you're challenged with, whether it's understanding how to network, whether it's understanding how to build a social media presence, whether it's understanding how to stay top of mind without being salesy and annoying and just kind of turning people off, or if you're looking for ways to build brand relevance and brand differentiation. You know, a lot of us are in saturated markets, and everything other than a logo, it looks the same. If you really want to know how to differentiate yourself, those are things that we talk about, we teach, and we not only teach, but we help you apply all that we're teaching. And so we're looking for more people with leadership qualities, and we appreciate the ones, like, as I said, Scott's been a great asset coming on to the community difference as a whole, and especially as Wylie. And, you know, we have all the different shows, but we're here to help you in any way that we can. And I don't think you'll find any better community to associate with and be able to help grow your business and learn the things that might be holding you back.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your passion. We did change up the format a little bit today. Normally it doesn't look quite like this, but I'm glad we did it because it gives us a lot of insight into where the community difference came from and the passion behind it and the purpose behind it. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for being my guest today. And we'll catch up with Wylie on the next Community Difference Wylie.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for watching today's show.
The Community Difference Wylie was made possible by Scott Johnson with FireBoss Realty, Janice Greenlee with Green Root Capital, and by Andrea Kincanon with the Kincanon Agency. The Community Difference Wylie. Together, we can make the difference.